Have you ever slipped on a back support belt, hoping it would finally ease that stubborn ache in your lower back, only to wake up the next morning feeling stiff, tired, or even more uncomfortable than before? Have you ever wondered why something that seems so simple and so widely recommended doesn't always deliver the relief it promises? If you've ever felt that confusion or frustration, you're truly not alone. One of my patients once told me something I think many seniors will relate to. She said, "Dr. Carter, I've worn my back belt every single day for years because I thought it was protecting me, but somehow my pain feels worse now than it did before." When we looked deeper, we discovered that the belt she relied on for comfort was quietly weakening her muscles and shifting her posture in ways she never noticed. The very tool she trusted had slowly become part of the problem. Now, I want you to imagine this. Picture yourself wrapping a belt around your lower back. It feels snug, secure, maybe even reassuring. For a moment, it feels like your spine is being held in place and the weight of your body is easier to carry. But inside the body, something more complex is happening. Your muscles begin to relax because the belt is taking over their job. Your posture becomes slightly dependent on that external support. What feels helpful on the outside may actually reduce strength on the inside. This brings us to the question at the heart of today's video. Do back support belts really work, or are they quietly causing more harm than help? And how can you know when they're useful and when they hold you back from healing? Back belts became popular because they promise instant stability and quick relief. They give people a sense of being held together, especially during painful flare-ups. But the real science behind them is far more nuanced, and the truth is something many seniors have never been told. Today, we're going to uncover that truth. Back support belts are tools, not solutions. They can help, but they can also weaken the body when used incorrectly or for too long. My goal in this video is to give you clarity, confidence, and real options. Together, we'll explore the benefits, the risks, when belts help, when they don't, and what you can do instead for long-term comfort and independence. And if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe to Senior Health Daily so we can continue learning, healing, and growing stronger together. How back support belts actually work and why seniors rely on them. When we talk about back support belts, most people imagine a simple tool that wraps around the waist and somehow makes everything feel easier. And in a way, that's true. These belts do provide a sense of stability. They hug the lower back, they limit movement, and for a short period of time, they really can make the spine feel more supported. But to understand why so many seniors rely on them and why their relief often doesn't last, we must first understand what is actually happening inside the body when a belt is worn. Inside your spine are small discs that act like tiny cushions. When you bend, twist, lift, or simply carry the weight of your upper body, these discs shift slightly to absorb the pressure. The muscles around your spine also help share that load. The deep core muscles, the glutes, and the stabilizers in your lower back all work together to keep your body upright. It's a beautifully coordinated system that functions best when everything is awake, balanced, and engaged. When someone puts on a back support belt, the belt takes over part of this job. It squeezes the midsection gently, reducing the movement of the spine and limiting the work your muscles need to do. This can lower the pressure on the discs temporarily, which is why many seniors feel relief within minutes. The belt essentially acts as an extra set of hands holding your spine steady. And during moments of acute pain, during flare-ups, or during activities that require more strength than usual, this assistance can be incredibly helpful. But here is where things become complicated. The relief the belt provides is usually short-lived because the body begins to adapt in ways most people don't realize. When the belt holds the spine stable, the muscles take a break. And while giving muscles a break during a painful flare-up can be a good thing, doing it too often or for too long begins to change the way the body functions. The muscles become less engaged. They lose a bit of their natural reflex to activate. They begin to rely on the belt instead of supporting you on their own. And over time, this can make the spine weaker, not stronger. This is one of the reasons many seniors come to me feeling confused. They wear their belt faithfully, expecting it to help, yet they feel more stiff or tired when they're not wearing it. They start needing it just to do simple tasks like walking, cooking, or getting out of a chair. The belt becomes something they depend on rather than a tool they use, and dependency is one of the biggest risks doctors wish more people understood. I remember a woman in her early 70s who had worn her belt daily for nearly 5 years. She believed it was protecting her spine. She believed it was keeping things in place, but every time she removed it, her back felt like it couldn't hold itself up. She described the sensation as if her muscles had forgotten how to work, and in truth, they had. Her body had adapted to the support the belt provided, and the muscles that once kept her upright had grown so underused that normal movement became tiring. This sense of safety that belts provide is powerful. Many seniors tell me they feel held together when wearing one. It boosts confidence, especially during flare-ups when movement feels risky. Some even say the belt gives them a sense of control they haven't felt in years. And there is nothing wrong with appreciating that comfort. Emotional reassurance is a real form of relief. But reassurance is not the same as healing. There's also a psychological layer to this. When people believe a belt is protecting them, they often move more than they normally would. This can make them feel stronger, but it can also mask underlying weakness. Without realizing it, they start doing activities their body isn't prepared for because the belt gives them a temporary sense of stability. That stability fades as soon as the belt comes off, leaving them feeling vulnerable again. Historically, even some doctors recommended back support belts because they saw immediate improvements in pain. But the long-term effects were not always explained. As more research emerges, it is becoming clear that belts are not meant to replace muscle strength, core stability, or healthy posture. They are meant for short-term assistance, not long-term use. So while belts do work in certain moments, the bigger question is whether they support healing or merely support the sensation of stability. And for many seniors, the answer becomes clear only when their pain returns or worsens after months or years of wearing one. As we move forward, I want to take you deeper into the hidden risks that doctors wish every older adult understood. Understanding these risks can help you make choices that truly support your health, rather than quietly undermining it. Let's look beneath the surface and explore what happens when the belt that feels like your best friend becomes the very thing holding you back. The hidden risks, when back belts help, and when they quietly harm seniors. As we continue this journey together, I want you to picture something that happens far more often than most people realize. A senior puts on a back support belt when their pain flares up. The belt brings relief, so they wear it a little longer the next day, then a little longer after that. Eventually, it becomes part of their routine. They put it on in the morning before walking the dog, before doing chores, before any activity that feels even slightly risky. What started as a temporary tool slowly turns into a daily habit. This is where the hidden risks begin to appear. One of the most important truths doctors want seniors to understand is that wearing a back belt too often gradually weakens the very muscles that protect the spine. When the belt takes over the job of stabilizing the body, the core muscles do not activate the way they should. It's not something you feel right away. It happens quietly, almost invisibly. Weeks turn into months, and suddenly, simple activities like standing up from a chair, walking around the house, or bending to pick something up feel harder than they used to. The body is incredibly smart. It adapts to whatever you give it. If the belt is doing the work, the muscles learn to stay relaxed. This leads to what some doctors call functional collapse. It doesn't mean you collapse physically. It means your natural support system collapses internally. The body no longer knows how to hold itself up without help. I've seen seniors who became so dependent on their belts that they struggled to walk across the room when they tried leaving it off. They described the feeling as unstable, weak, or like their back was giving out. But what was really happening was the result of months or years of muscle inactivity. The belt had become both their comfort and their crutch. And there are other risks too. Many older adults wear belts too tightly, believing that the tighter the belt, the more effective it is. But when a belt compresses the abdomen, it restricts the natural movement of the diaphragm. breathing becomes shallow, and the body receives less oxygen. Over time, this can affect energy levels, balance, and even digestive comfort. Seniors with arthritis, spinal stenosis, or nerve irritation sometimes make their symptoms worse simply by fastening the belt a little too tight out of fear of pain. Another hidden problem is posture. A belt that is worn too high or too low can shift your alignment. It may push the ribs up, tilt the pelvis forward, or flatten the natural curve of the lower back. These subtle changes might not be noticeable at first, but they create imbalanced loading on the joints. An imbalance is one of the biggest causes of chronic back pain. Yet it's important to understand that belts are not bad. They simply have a time and place. Used correctly, they can be extremely helpful, especially for short periods. For example, during an acute pain flare-up when nerves are irritated, a belt can reduce the stress on the spine long enough for inflammation to calm down. When lifting something moderately heavy, like organizing a garage or moving a box, a belt can prevent sudden strain. During housework or gardening, a belt can be a good source of temporary stability, especially when you know you'll be bending or reaching. And there are moments when belts are not just helpful, but essential. After certain surgeries, after a disc herniation, or during the early stages of nerve compression, doctors may recommend wearing a belt for short durations to keep the spine safe. But even in these situations, the goal is always the same: short-term support, long-term strengthening. One of my patients, a 70-year-old gentleman, came to me after wearing a belt every day for nearly 3 years. His pain had been getting worse, not better. He felt tired, stiff, and unstable. When we tested his core strength, we discovered his muscles had grown so weak that he relied on the belt just to walk comfortably. When he finally stopped wearing it daily and began a simple strengthening routine, his pain improved almost immediately. He went from needing the belt for every activity to only using it during yard work. Within a few months, he told me he felt stronger at 70 than he had at 65. It was not the belt that healed him. It was learning how to use his body again. Another woman, in her mid-70s, used her belt only during flare-ups. She noticed that when she wore it for 2 or 3 days, her pain calmed down. But when she wore it for a week straight, her stiffness increased. When we adjusted her posture, improved her hip mobility, and taught her how to engage her core gently, her pain episodes became shorter and less intense. She learned how to use the belt as a tool rather than a dependency. These stories matter because they show the truth behind back belts. They aren't magic solutions. They aren't long-term fixes. They're not meant to replace posture, strength, or mobility. But when used smartly, they can offer meaningful support. So how do you know if your belt is actually helping or if it is quietly making things worse? There are signs. If you feel more stiffness when you take the belt off, it may be weakening your muscles. If you find yourself needing the belt more often rather than less, that is another warning. If your pain starts spreading to new areas, like the hips or the mid-back, your alignment may be shifting. And if standing without the belt becomes difficult, that is a clear sign your body has begun to rely on external support instead of natural strength. These signs aren't meant to scare you. They are meant to empower you. When you understand what your body is trying to tell you, you can take steps that genuinely support healing. In the next section, we'll explore the deeper science behind why overusing belts fails and what happens inside the spine and muscles when dependence begins. This understanding will help you choose better strategies for long-term comfort, strength, and independence. The simple science, safer alternatives, and when back belts should actually be used. As we move into this final part of the main content, I want to take you just a little deeper into the science, but in a way that feels simple, relatable, and empowering. You don't need a medical degree to understand what's happening inside your body. You just need a clear picture. Imagine for a moment that your spine is like a suspension bridge. A bridge stays strong because both sides hold their weight evenly. When the cables tighten and loosen in harmony, the bridge can withstand wind, weather, and years of pressure. But if one side begins to carry more load, or one cable stops working, cracks appear faster. The structure becomes vulnerable. Your back works the same way. When the core muscles, glutes, and spinal stabilizers all work together, your spine stays supported. It absorbs shock, distributes weight evenly, and adapts to movement. But when a belt takes over part of the load, even temporarily, the muscles around your spine loosen their grip. They don't engage with the same strength. They don't protect the joints in the same way. Over time, this uneven support creates stress points, and those stress points often become chronic pain. This is why overusing back belts fails. Muscles lose strength when they aren't challenged. Joints stiffen when movement becomes limited. The spine becomes less adaptable because it is no longer used to controlling motion on its own. Tight hip flexors pull the pelvis forward. Weak glutes shift pressure onto the lower back. All of these small imbalances quietly add up. But the good news, and this is something I want every senior watching to really take to heart, is that your body remains adaptable throughout your entire life. Even in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, simple changes can dramatically improve comfort, strength, and mobility. Let's talk about healthier alternatives that work far better than relying on a belt. Gentle core strengthening is one of the most powerful tools you have, and it doesn't require going to the gym or doing anything strenuous. Something as simple as tightening your belly muscles gently while breathing can begin retraining your stabilizers. A few minutes each day can slowly wake the muscles that your belt has been replacing. Hip mobility exercises also make a tremendous difference. When the hips move well, the spine doesn't have to twist or bend as much. This reduces tension, improves alignment, and prevents flare-ups. Even small stretches held for 20 or 30 seconds can begin restoring natural movement. Posture correction is another essential component. Many seniors lean forward slightly without realizing it. Some shift their weight to one side while standing. Others sit for long periods in soft chairs that sag in the middle. Adjusting these habits gives the spine a chance to heal. A supportive chair, a pillow behind the lower back, or simply keeping both feet flat on the floor can turn everyday activities into opportunities for recovery. Walking is one of the simplest ways to rehydrate spinal discs and improve back health. When you walk with a gentle, natural stride, the discs absorb moisture. This helps them stay cushioned and flexible. Even a 10-minute walk done consistently brings better long-term relief than wearing a belt all day. And let's not forget stretching tight hip flexors. Many seniors spend much of their day sitting. Sitting shortens the muscles in the front of the hips. When these muscles tighten, they pull the pelvis forward and make the lower back feel compressed. A simple stretch can undo hours of strain. These routines aren't complicated. They don't require perfect technique. They only require consistency and awareness. Small efforts add up, and they rebuild the muscle support system that your back relies on far more effectively than any belt can. Now, it's important to acknowledge that there are times when using a belt is not only acceptable, but truly beneficial. If you're lifting something moderately heavy, a belt can prevent sudden strain. During yard work, gardening, or house chores that involve bending, a belt can offer temporary protection. If you're having a flare-up that lasts a few days, wearing a belt during the most painful moments can give you just enough support to stay mobile. Traveling, sitting in the car for long hours, or recovering from certain spinal procedures are also appropriate times to use a belt, as long as your doctor recommends it. But the key is always the same. Belts are for specific moments, not everyday life. They are for temporary support, not long-term dependence. They are tools, not solutions. And nothing brings this truth to life better than the real stories of seniors who regained control of their health by learning how to use belts wisely. I once worked with a woman in her late 60s who wore a back belt almost every day for a decade. She believed she needed it, but when she slowly reduced her use and focused on strengthening her core, her pain began to fade. She eventually reached a point where the belt only came out for gardening, never for daily tasks. She told me it felt like getting her freedom back. Another man in his 70s overcame sciatic pain by correcting his forward head posture and practicing simple hip hinge techniques. He told me that for the first time in years, he felt strong enough to trust his own body again. These stories remind us that healing rarely comes from something outside the body. It comes from waking up the strength that already exists inside you. Before we move to the emotional conclusion of this video, I want to highlight one final point. Back support belts help with symptoms, not causes. If you ever experience sharp pain, radiating discomfort, numbness, tingling, weakness in the foot, difficulty standing upright, or pain that wakes you from sleep, those are signs you need medical attention. Belts may soothe the moment, but deeper issues require real evaluation. And now, in the final part of this video, we're going to bring everything together. We'll talk about the meaning behind your pain, the resilience of your body, and the hope that comes when you choose awareness and intention over fear and habit. A gentle, empowering ending that seniors will remember. As we come to the end of our time together today, I want to leave you with a truth that I hope settles gently into your heart. Pain is not your enemy. It is not punishment, weakness, or a sign that your body is failing you. Pain is communication. It is your spine tapping you on the shoulder, asking for alignment, strength, awareness, and care. And when you listen to it with compassion instead of fear, everything begins to change. Small posture corrections, small strength exercises, and small adjustments in how you move can transform your entire life. These little changes reduce nerve pressure, improve circulation, ease stiffness, and help your spine feel supported from within rather than held together from the outside. You don't need perfection. You don't need to move like you did when you were 20. All you need is intention and consistency. Your body responds beautifully to small acts of support. And I want you to remember something else. No matter your age, your spine is still adaptable. It still learns. It still heals. I've seen seniors in their 60s, 70s, and 80s regain strength they thought was gone forever. They restored mobility. They restored comfort. They restored confidence. Not because they relied on a belt, but because they learned how to support themselves again. Posture is not about looking perfect. It's about treating your body with respect. It's about choosing alignment over strain and awareness over habit. When you live with that intention, your spine feels it, and it thanks you. So let me leave you with the message I wish every senior could hear. Your body is not giving up on you. It's waiting for you to support it in the right way, and you are capable of far more healing than you realize. If this video helped you, I invite you to subscribe to Senior Health Daily, where we walk this journey together with clarity, compassion, and hope. Your best days of comfort and confidence can still be ahead.